Hello, everyone. We still wait 2 minutes more. Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So cool to see all of you here. And for those who haven't seen me before, I'm Sabrina Wollenschläger. I'm the co-managing director of the Blockchain Zug, the joint research initiative. And yeah, in today's world, tech shapes more and more the decisions in our life. So, but how is that governed? Who decides what? And how do we address privacy? When some technologies are built up to be fully transparent and others reveal nothing at all. And this is our topic over the next 30 minutes. We will tackle 3 big questions. What does governance actually mean? And what's working and what's not? And what we can take forward beyond blockchain and beyond DLT in general. And now I'm really excited to have 3 leading voices here with me. I warmly welcome Shirly Valge, Chief of Growth at Partisia Blockchain. We have Valentina Andreeva, Director Project Management at the Hashgraph Association. And we have Ghazi Ben Amor, Vice President Corporate Development at Zama. And last but not least, we also would like to hear your voice. So we reserved some time in the end of the panel for a short Q&A. But yeah, let's start. And we talk first, and let's talk about the term governance. It's such a broad term, and it has not that clear definition. So we are using it for different kinds of processes like decision making, or also like in DAOs for steering Discord channels. So Ghazi, what's your take on governance and why it matters? Can you shed a bit light on it?
Yeah, so I will take a very theoretical definition of governance as per my view, which is, we take a process, we all agree that the process has been executed on the correct data, and we all agree that the outcome of the process is correct, has been correctly executed, so is correct. So we are able to expose that process, we're able to expose the inputs to the process, and we're able to expose the output of the process, and we all agree that it is indeed how we intended it to be.
Thank you. Shirley?
Yeah, Ghazi explained it on an overall level very clearly, but into Partisia's context, what we're focused on around governance is, for example, on-chain voting, where privacy is crucial because having on-chain voting, you wanna exclude the introduction of bias to the voters in the mix. So you wanna eliminate the external actors and making an impact on their voting decisions, as well as having like maximum fairness in the voting process, as well as verification. And we also have decentralized access management, where privacy is built in around custody of digital identity and verifiable credentials, and also for custodians on the financial assets. So we can also have governance around such topics, and where privacy is crucial.
Thank you. Valentina, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I take it even one level higher, in essence, I think governance, so specifically when we're talking about in the context of decentralized systems, in essence, governance is responsible management. So making sure that that it's managed in a responsible way. So if we take the parallel like with the Web 2 world, and we take a company and it's managed by board of directors, executives, the management, if something goes wrong, so if it's mismanaged, the company will suffer. But it remains at the company, or maybe up and down the value chain, the suppliers, potentially some clients, they will be the ones impacted. However, when we're talking about an infrastructure like a blockchain or a distributed ledger, if it's mismanaged, the impact is much wider because it impacts all the companies, so to speak, even potentially markets, industries that are built on top of that. So the loss can be colossal. That's why governance is so important. And yes, that's, I would say, why it matters so much.
Thank you. Shirley, you spoke about privacy-enhancing tech under the GDPR this morning. So now, when it comes to governance, especially on-chain governance, there's always this tension, what should be on-chain and what shouldn't. How do you at Partisia deal with that balance? And where do you see the biggest trade-offs right now?
Yeah, so we're working on creating this balance between fully anonymous systems and fully public systems, because you can't create trust in none of them. So that's where the privacy-enhancing technologies, and specifically MPC, comes into play in order to create this even playing field. So yeah, I believe that's where the balance comes from, using things like fully homomorphic encryption or CK or MPC.
And the trade-offs, what do you think?
The trade-offs is exactly, if you have a fully transparent systems, then you can't achieve trust because the counterparty can use your data in a malicious way. For example, if you reveal everything about yourself, so you need to have balance there in things which you keep private and which you keep public.
Valentina, many assume that protecting privacy requires everything on-chain. So if we have a look to Hedera, the protocol behind the Hashgraph Association, we see that Hedera has off-chain governance. So what makes this a strong model? Probably you can a little bit shed light about that. And what probably we misunderstood about the concept?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one common misconception about Hedera, or in general about off-chain governance, is that off-chain necessarily means centralized, which goes against everything that we believe in blockchain and the decentralized world. But actually, that's not true. Like, so if we take Hedera, for example, yeah, so it is governed in a distributed way. So it's governed, for those of you who don't know Hedera, it's a DLT that's specifically targeted for enterprises and governments and regulators as well. And it's governed by a group of 39, I think as of today we have companies, so from different industries. So it's big companies like industry leaders such as Google, IBM, Boeing. We have the London School of Economics as well. And they basically manage the network, so they each run a node. They manage the network. They also make decisions in terms of how the network will be upgraded, where the funds, how the treasury is managed, where the funds are distributed, and all of this is managed across different committees. So I think that one strong suit for that, so first is that you have trust, because by trusting, when you build on Hedera, you trust the companies who are running this network. So this is particularly appealing to enterprises who want to build their applications there. Another thing is, I would say, because you have dedicated committees, you have the correct people. So you have experts, for example, in the technology who are part of the committee deciding on the technological upgrades. You have people with more financial background for the distribution of the treasury. And there's another committee, for example, for the utilization of the network, how it's used, who are the different use cases that are built there. So I think this gives you an element of expertise as well. So it's not that you just vote because you have tokens, so you're allowed to vote. It also ensures that whoever makes the decisions knows what they're talking about, and you can trust the decision-making process. And maybe one other thing to add here is the way that it works is that it's not depending on the number of tokens that you hold, your vote is bigger or smaller. It's you have one council member equals one vote. So it's pretty equal. Yeah, I would say those are the... There's more, but those are the main advantages.
Yeah, I could also come back. We're also believing in this hybrid model of public and private network. So what we see also from the enterprise adoption side, they're interested in this hybrid model where you have traceability and accountability on the public side, but you keep all your confidential data and processes on the private network side, whilst protecting it with something like MPC. It's similar to how the Web 2 has been architected to adhere to all the data compliancy. Yeah, that would be the model, I think, which would be compliant in the long term.
Thank you. And now, if we take a look into the future, probably we see then everywhere agentic AI, we will probably see everywhere the physical AI, means human and machine collaboration will be at some point in the future super the norm. So, but what does that mean for governance and for privacy and therefore also for data sovereignty? And yeah, Ghazi, Zama specialized in the fully homomorphic encryption means that during the entire computation, the data is completely fully encoded. So could you briefly explain how FGE works in practice? Also probably with some use cases.
So I'm happy that you remembered.
Yeah.
No, so FHE, what it does is an algorithm that allows to manipulate encrypted data without having to decrypt them. So you take two numbers, you can add them, you can compare them, you can multiply them, you get another number without ever knowing what you had before. Now, applied first to blockchain. We talked about governance. Governance in a public blockchain is the ability to reach a consensus that the validators have executed a smart contract correctly. So they've taken inputs, they've all executed the same smart contract, they all reach the same output, they reach consensus that the output is correct, they publish it. That's how governance works in a public blockchain. The issue is that everyone knows the input, everyone knows the output. With FHE, a validator can execute the smart contract on encrypted inputs. They'll get encrypted outputs. They'll be able to reach a consensus on the encrypted output without ever knowing what they've done. And our technology is super flexible in two ways. You decide in your smart contract what data is encrypted and what data is not. So you can decide in the context of a vote, my vote is encrypted, but maybe not the date at which I voted. In the context of a transfer, my balance is encrypted, but maybe my nationality is not, because I still have to pay taxes. The second flexibility is you could be on any blockchain. We're a protocol that adapts and integrates into blockchain. Today, we're going into the EVMs. In the future, we're going for other blockchains. And the third one is it's a developer friendly. So a developer who knows in the EVM world how to code, just say, this data is encrypted, I code, I transfer money, now that money is encrypted. Now, the other part that is important, and this is what you mentioned in AI, is who gets to see what. Because now my data is in a public domain, it's encrypted, I may want to share it with others. And so there is an access control that is built on MPC, where on the blockchain itself, you decide who can see what and who can compute what. And so with that, you're able to bring governance to the data that you're exposing on a public blockchain. Why does it matter? I mean, AI, obviously, you can decide what is leverage and what is not for a training, but also auditability. If the authorities need to know something about me, I can also transfer the rights for them to check whatever they need to check. So, and that's an important part for clients, banks, that have to be compliant with whatever regulations are in place in their countries.
Absolutely. Do you have something to add, Shirly?
Yeah, basically we do it the same, it's just with MPC and blockchain combination. We see a lot of interest from projects doing AI verification. So how do you verify that the AI model is what it's supposed to do in an ethical way? Also, how do you train on a data that should be compliant? So this is where the MPC can be used. We're actually coming out with fully arithmetic MPC, which allows federated learning on confidential data. So that's how it's changing the game.
And do you know how Hedera will use it in the future, or how is the outlook there?
I think, yeah, I mean, so obviously I agree with what you said regarding the data privacy. So where is how is the data used, but also where is it coming from and where is it going? And I think that's where DLTs will also play a role in these kind of models in the future, because obviously the data is input somewhere else, and it just continues down the chain. So I think, yeah, DLTs will play a big role for that in the future. But maybe also a bit on the governance aspect. So if we think of the agents of the future who would be able to take actions on our behalf, so potentially make transactions for us, sign contracts for us, place orders, anything like this. If they make a mistake, in essence, who is then held accountable or responsible for this? So I think in the future, something that we all have to think about is also how do we make sure that the governance that we have in place also can keep up with this and takes into account both the data element that's brought by AI, but as well the human element that we can have in place, mainly, the ethical part, but also the decision-making aspect.
It's also the explainability, right? It's being able to explain to humans why their credit score is not allowing us to get a loan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now I would like to open up for you. So are there already questions? Please raise your hand, and my colleagues left and right would manage the mic. So, no? Then, yeah, over there. Just a sec, the mic is coming. Super.
Thank you very much. I would have one question. About 8 to 9 years ago, I was involved I was leading a project to give back to policyholders the complete control and ownership of their personal health-related data. The idea was really to not only enable to hide the data, but also to reveal it for certain people for a certain amount of time, in view to whatever needed to be done, including transactions, including contracting. And I remember then that back in the time, there were other stakeholders or players in the market trying to address the topic, but nothing came out of it. And I know that my project was frozen because I've been told that there are other players trying to produce the same outcome that might be faster than I was, which wasn't the case, obviously. But I would like to ask you where we stand, because if there's anything closest to identity, it's our health and anything related to it. Okay. And the way we process that data is so unclear that it's even unclear to us where we stand.
Okay, so I think it's a good question. To whom would you like to
No,
address?
I would like to ask the entire panel.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we've focused on the past years. I think earlier it wasn't the case because it wasn't that popular, or it wasn't there. I mean, we've been building or developing MPC over past 37 years, and we're only now there when it's becoming popular and more aware, and it's down to low code level. So basically it allows you to put the healthcare data of an individual into use and monetize on the use of it, not the data itself, whilst keeping it all private. And then you're able to customize the research, customize the computation, and only the output will be public, and you can even manage and control the access, who gets to manage that output. So I think we're only now in that phase where the architecture and different privacy-enhancing technologies are facilitating such use cases.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I think so. It will touch on two things. The first one is what do you do with the data is not necessarily a technical problem, and I'm sure Valentina will be a lot more clear on the answer, but you may give consent to use certain data for research. What kind of research? If it's to cure certain diseases, maybe you're fine. If it's to harm certain people, maybe you're not. And that's not technology, that's ethics, right? And so today it is in place. We work with actors, government actors, like in France you have the Data Health Hub that would first analyze, and this is humans analyzing what is the actual objective of the project. Is it aligned with what people want to do or not? Do we have the right samples? If you're focusing on a certain type of problems, maybe you don't have enough data to either obfuscate the data because it's just that guy, or maybe we don't have enough to reach meaningful decisions. So that's the first part, which is making sure that the request is, quote, quote, ethical. The technical part, to be honest, there are many technologies. FHE, MPC is one of them, but there are many others. And it could just be putting it in a private server on a bunker and making sure that there are no USBs. You see, there are simple ways to get certain data accessible. We do work with FHE because it's what we do and because it works. But there are many others, and I would say the first problem is definitely the hardest. Judging whether the ultimate objective of the access of the data is aligned or not with what the user wants and what the ethic wants.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think healthcare data is probably something that speaks, well, to most people, that everyone can understand because it's applicable to us. And I think that's also an excellent case for decentralized digital identity. So I understand, Shirly, you also have this working on your end. Us too at the Hashgraph Association, where we're developing solutions around that. And yeah, I think we're actually next week hosting an event in collaboration with the Crypto Valley, focused specifically on that, on healthcare. So this is definitely, there's some interesting use cases that we're exploring there and how decentralized identity can help to solve some of those issues.
So, do we have another question? Yep, over there.
I have a question regarding the homomorphic encryption voting you mentioned. So first, you said EVM chains. How are the gas costs, like compared to the same calculations on non-encrypted data? And the second thing is GDPR related. So, I mean, there's a right to be forgotten, and even encrypted data could be seen as personal data. So how does this fit into the scheme?
Yeah, so the first answer on the gas costs, they are the gas associated to the blockchain on which the smart contract is running. And this is fairly comparable to a non-encrypted one. It's a bit higher, but it's not, it doesn't break the bank. Then we process. So when you execute FHE operations, you publish events that we listen to and that we execute asynchronously. We typically don't charge for the execution, we charge for the decryption. So the vote is a great example where it's economical because there is only one decryption. Did the vote pass or fail? But sometimes it's a bit more decryptions. The second part, you were sorry, I forgot the second part. So
it's a GDPR.
GDPR. So GDPR, we actually had, I think 2-3 weeks ago, there was an opinion from the European Union about the right to be forgotten in a public blockchain. We're participating to the effort. We're trying to create something called the right not to be decrypted. So it's still, you still need, as a public blockchain, you still need all the blocks to make sense that the ultimate state is correct. But we could prevent the decryption of your data. So in essence, it is there. You can still derive whatever you need to derive from the data, but you're not able to decrypt it. You're no longer able to use it in other smart contracts. It's not passed as a law, but this is one of the multiple responses that the European blockchain industry is presenting as ways to respect the privacy of a person while continuing to function in a public blockchain.
We have a solution for different solution which I proposed in the morning and showcased in the morning, and which we have seen is the most adopted one by players that we work with. So it's basically a combination of private and public blockchain, which is, the private is also a distributed network, but it's just trusted stakeholders and node operators, where you keep the identifiable data on the private network, and then just for verification and auditability and traceability, you keep it, the rest, the logs, you keep on the public side of things. And then we have a smart contract language which enables you to reconstruct the transaction if an authority comes in, or if the person comes in and wants to erase a certain data about themselves in the further future. So there are technically and cryptographically solutions out there.
Yeah, on private blockchain is easier, I would say, to remove
hybrid,
data. Yeah.
Are there more questions? No? Then I would have a question and another one. If there is one thing, a principle, or also maybe even a warning, what we should carry into the next infrastructure, or digital infrastructure, or next generation, what would that be from your side? Ghazi, would you like to start here?
Confidentiality, for sure.
I think we need to evolve, because as you see, like the new GDPR is coming up to blockchain protocols and technology players in Web3 field. So, I mean, if you take a look at the DAOs at first, we thought we can just create an open-ended democracies where anyone can vote and everyone with an opinion has a right to vote, and that would create a perfect system, but it has proven to be not the case. So I think we should only have like people with expertise and like intellectual voting rights in a DAO, and I see this landscape already changing. So yeah, try out things, but also improve over the process. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I share the sentiment. I mean, I think we've learned, and I think we can all agree here, that full transparency doesn't equate to accountability. So we have to basically move forward using the best of both worlds. And especially while we're still kind of in the Web 2.5 era, and I'm coming really from the institutional and traditional enterprise standpoint. Yeah, so it's kind of transition, keep up with the trends, keep evolving, keep adjusting towards hopefully a fully decentralized one-day Web3 environment where everything will be run.
Thank you. And yeah, we are almost out of time, so I would like to let you with a thought or a statement by Elinor Ostrom. She's a very well-known researcher and got a Nobel Prize in economic science for her work on governance back in the 90s. And she encountered and she stated, or her statement is, there is no panacea in governance. And yeah, 35 years later, we can see exactly there is no one-size-fits-all model. So when it comes to governance, and this is equally applicable also to privacy. Therefore, I think that's exactly what we've seen here today. We have different architectures, we have also different assumptions and also different trade-offs. So means we are not moving into a unified model. Towards a unified model, it's more that, towards a deeper understanding that different circumstances need also different kind of approaches and actions. And with that, I come to the end. Thank you to our brilliant panel, and thanks to you guys. And wish you a wonderful evening. Thanks.
Let's give it up for our panelists. Thank you.